You find yourself on the edge of an ancient world, one where gods roam, whispers of heroes echo, and the scent of olive trees lingers in the warm Mediterranean breeze. The sun, already dipping low, bathes the land in a golden hue, painting the stone buildings of ancient Greece with the same warmth that once kissed the skin of their greatest thinkers. You hear the distant sound of waves gently lapping against the shore, mixing with the faint chatter of citizens in the agora, their voices muffled by the space between them. A donkey brays somewhere off to your right, because really, who doesn't have a donkey in ancient Greece? Now you probably won't make it through this entire day, but that's okay. You'll sleep soundly no matter what. Perhaps you'll even dream about something oddly calming, like an athletic competition. Or better yet, the origins of one. Before we dive into the story, a quick reminder: sleep with stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. After all, you're about to hear one of history's most unexpected moments, so you might as well enjoy it. And feel free to leave a comment too. Where are you listening from? And what's the time in your corner of the world? We're curious. Now, let's ease into tonight's journey. The year is 776 BCE, and we are in Olympia, Greece, where the first Olympic Games are about to take place. You stand in the stadium, the air heavy with excitement and the scent of fresh pine. In the distance, you see runners preparing, their bodies glistening with the oil that once made them feel both invincible and slightly awkward. And as the competitors ready themselves, an odd fact hangs in the air. This isn't just a sports event, it's an ancient Greek attempt to honor their gods. But how did the Olympics come to be? More importantly, how did Apollo accidentally invent gymnastics? It wasn't because Apollo himself wanted athletes to bend and flip in the name of the gods. No, that would be far too practical and straightforward. No, in Apollo's case, the invention of gymnastics had everything to do with his ego. Apollo, you see, was the god of many things: the sun, music, and poetry. But as we all know, even gods can have a bit of a competitive streak. Apollo, rather unusually, also fancied himself a master of the physical arts. And one fateful day, while in the company of his twin sister Artemis, Apollo found himself on a long, winding path toward an unexpected invention. A path which, through his legendary hubris, accidentally gave birth to gymnastics. The gods had long been obsessed with the idea of achieving perfect balance and grace, as well as demonstrating their prowess in every possible way. And Apollo, never one to shy away from a challenge, decided that he could not only play the lyre better than anyone else, but he could also perform feats of strength, balance, and agility. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's go back to the basics. To the Greeks, competition was sacred, and any form of entertainment that involved human strength or skill was elevated to something divine. It wasn't uncommon for the gods themselves to try their hand at such challenges, though their motives often weren't as pure as their worshippers would like to believe. Historians still debate whether Apollo invented gymnastics with the sole purpose of one-upping his fellow deities, or if it was an afterthought. Either way, Apollo's grand idea, which started as an attempt to show off, would change history in ways he probably didn't anticipate. So Apollo stands there, full of confidence, stretching out his arms and preparing for the most graceful leap the world has ever seen. The gods look on, mildly intrigued. What they don't know is that Apollo's movements, his fluid, controlled energy, would lead to the first of many awkward but magnificent gymnastic performances. Let's linger here a moment. Imagine it, the early Olympics, the runners with their smooth, calculated strides and their high hopes of winning Apollo's favor. But Apollo, being Apollo, knew that simply running was far too easy. He wanted to push the boundaries of human movement, and so, in one accidental but fateful moment, Apollo's showmanship gave birth to the idea of gymnastics. What started as an attempt to impress turned into something that would outlast even the gods themselves. Can you see it now? Apollo, proud and unrelenting, in the middle of a grand display, creating movements that would soon become part of the Olympic Games. It was a bit like the first time someone realized that a normal walk could be elevated into something much more, something graceful, athletic, and even entertaining. Apollo, of course, didn't call it gymnastics at the time, but in his divine way, he had created the groundwork for it. And as you stand in that ancient stadium, the warm light of the setting sun casting long shadows over the stone arena, you can almost hear the soft echoes of Apollo's prideful, yet inadvertent accomplishment. You, like the ancient Greeks, now have a piece of this history lodged in your mind, waiting to take root in your dreams. You hear the familiar sound of a gentle breeze, the wind softly rustling through the olive groves nearby. The faint chatter of nearby spectators grows dim, and you start to feel the cool night air creep in, carrying with it the promise of a peaceful night's rest. There's a certain comfort in knowing that as the sun sets on this ancient world, you are part of something timeless this evening. As the shadows grow longer, Apollo's accidental invention is still alive in the stories we tell. But let's return to that unexpected moment, the one where Apollo, eager to show off his perfection, caused gymnastics to be born from a mere display of physical prowess. The gods had long been known to involve themselves in these human competitions, sometimes with mischievous intentions and other times to bless their favored mortals. Apollo, in his infinite wisdom, or so he thought, didn't see the harm in adding one more feather to his already embellished cap. As he strutted across the Olympic field, leaping and twirling with precision, the onlookers marveled. But it wasn't until he began to stretch, bend, and twist in ways no mortal could ever dream of that the real seeds of gymnastics were sown. Historians still question if Apollo's abilities truly rivaled those of the human athletes who would later follow in his wake. There are whispers that Apollo's physicality was exaggerated by poets and dramatists over time. But who are we to argue with mythology? Apollo's moves became the talk of the gods. Athena, goddess of wisdom and strategy, raised an eyebrow at the performance. Is this what you call a challenge? She might have asked, knowing full well that there was a deeper reason behind his sudden show of flexibility. But Apollo, in true divine form, paid no heed. His performance became a benchmark for mortal athletes to strive toward, though. Ironically, no one was quite able to match his innate grace and strength. And so the Olympics began. From those humble, accidental beginnings, gymnastics grew, evolved, and became a staple of Olympic competition. What was once a boastful, godly display turned into a human pursuit, one marked by discipline and focus. Every time a gymnast flips, spins, or balances, there's a tiny echo of Apollo's unwitting contribution to the sport. You hear a soft sigh as you lean back, feeling the comfortable weight of history rest around you. The world of the ancient Greeks, full of gods and heroes, is now far behind you, yet its echoes still shape your world today. You've come a long way from Apollo's first display of power, and yet somewhere in the back of your mind, you feel the connection to those gods just a little bit more tangible now. And as your eyelids grow heavy, the ancient world fades into soft darkness, just as it always does when stories are told under the gaze of the stars. The wind now feels a bit cooler, and the soft hum of the night fills your ears. It's like the world has settled into a quiet lull, ready for rest. You begin to notice the sharp contrast between the quiet hum of the present and the hustle of ancient Greece. The scent of sea salt mixed with pine trees, the distant whisper of crowds, and the faintest shadow of the gods seem to rest just beyond your reach. As your eyes close, the past inches closer, like an old friend you've only recently met. But don't let that calm fool you. The story is far from over. It's one thing to watch Apollo stretch and twist, his divine grace captivating all who witnessed it. Yet the true journey of gymnastics wasn't going to be just about the gods. It would be the humans, those mortals, who would eventually take Apollo's accidental invention and craft it into something entirely their own. In the quiet corners of Olympia, the early Olympians were preparing for something altogether different. While Apollo's display may have inspired the gods and left their whispers lingering in the air, it was the mortal athletes who were about to make gymnastics a tradition of their own. These early games weren't just about the speed of the runners or the strength of the wrestlers. It was about what Apollo had unknowingly shown them: the beauty of controlled movement, the grace of the body in motion. His accidental invention began to take form in new and unexpected ways. At first, gymnasts were far more interested in flexibility and balance than in sheer strength. The idea of bending, twisting, and making the body move in seemingly impossible ways was seen as both an athletic feat and a form of artistic expression. You can almost see it, can't you? The athletes, drenched in oil, their muscles glistening, in the soft light of the Olympic Stadium, twisting and contorting with a focus that would rival the greatest artists of the time. Their movements were fluid, graceful, and dare we say it, pretty in their own way. Historians still debate whether Apollo intended gymnastics to be a competitive pursuit at all. Some scholars argue that the god of the sun had no interest in human sport at all, and that his actions were merely a show of divine arrogance. Others believe that Apollo's display, whether intentional or not, was part of a grander plan to push humanity towards excellence in every realm, not just the intellectual or artistic, but the physical as well. Whatever the truth, gymnastics would go on to shape the physical culture of Greece and eventually spread throughout the Roman Empire. In this quiet world of Olympia, you may not be hearing the clang of swords or the intense chants of warriors preparing for battle, but instead, you feel the subtle rustle of athletes preparing for something altogether different, a test of balance, flexibility, and grace. The stadium fills with a strange kind of anticipation, where even the gods seem momentarily distracted by the growing physicality of these human competitions. It wasn't long before the gymnasts began to refine the discipline, bending their bodies into shapes that the ancient world had never seen before. The art of gymnastics, this show of strength, balance, and flex, began to grow in ways that Apollo had never quite imagined. The Olympics were beginning to take shape as a multifaceted event. It wasn't just about victory in running or wrestling, it was about mastering the body, pushing it to its limits in ways that the gods themselves would have admired. By the time the games expanded to include more events, gymnastics was cemented as a mainstay, though it looked nothing like it does today. Yet, even now, as you feel the breeze shift and the stars twinkle above, you understand something important. Even in the ancient world, nothing was really all that simple. Apollo, with his desire to show off and his ability to inspire, created something far more complex and lasting than he could have ever realized. He didn't simply show the Greeks how to stretch and twist. He showed them how to turn the body into a moving work of art, a delicate, balanced performance that was both athletic and beautiful. So imagine this moment: the gods have moved on, their whispers fading into the night, and the athletes are now taking center stage. Their bodies twist and leap, echoing the movements Apollo once made. As you stand there, silently watching, you feel the weight of the centuries fall away, leaving only the timeless beauty of the human body in motion. And here, in this timeless moment, you understand gymnastics was never just about a god showing off. It was about what that god inspired others to do. Now, as you let the peaceful wind lull you deeper into the story, Let's move forward where the mythic inspiration of Apollo turns into something much more human, much more mortal. The air feels almost electric now, as though the gods themselves are still watching, a silent witness to everything unfolding in Olympia. The stars above seem to shine just a little brighter, as if Apollo himself were giving them an approving nod. The athletes, oily and gleaming, are still twisting and leaping, but now there's a deeper energy in their movements, a determination to perfect the impossible. They're no longer mimicking Apollo's divine moves. They're surpassing them. At this point in history, the Olympic Games are growing in scale and importance. The gods may have inspired the games, but it was the athletes, those humans' sweat and determination etched into every movement, who truly brought gymnastics into the competitive sphere. And let's be honest, the gods didn't always seem to care for human competition. After all, they had their own divine matters to attend to. But for the humans, this was the beginning of something far greater than any divine display. It was the pursuit of excellence, the testing of the human body in ways no one had ever thought possible. And of course, there was that ever-present undercurrent of competition, which, let's be real, was probably part of Apollo's divine plan all along. No one does anything in ancient Greece without some kind of rivalry brewing in the background. Even the gods had their moments of petty jealousy. You'd think they'd have better things to do, but no gods, humans, and gymnasts alike were all caught up in the game. This is where the journey of gymnastics takes an unexpected turn. As athletes began to refine their craft, one might say they got a little carried away. After all, when you're dealing with the gods' own inspiration, things are bound to go a little wild. So the gymnasts of Olympia weren't just flipping and twisting for fun. Oh no, they were pushing the very limits of human strength and flexibility. The first recorded gymnasts were doing moves that looked more like modern acrobatics than what we think of as ancient sport. The precision, the beauty, the strength, all of it came together in ways that even Apollo might have paused to watch. Impressed. Historians still aren't entirely sure when gymnastics fully made its way into the structured events of the Olympics. There are traces of it from the very early days, but like so many things in ancient history, it's a bit hazy. Some argue that the first Olympic gymnasts were just showing off, trying to emulate Apollo's performance. Others suggest that it wasn't, until the Roman Empire's influence that gymnastics truly began to take shape as a disciplined sport. But no matter the timeline, one thing is clear: Apollo might not have intended to create gymnastics, but in his attempt to show off, he created the spark that led to something much bigger. The night is now deep, and the ancient world fades into a quiet, muted hum. The scent of olive oil, mixed with the distant saltiness of the sea, wraps around you like an old, familiar blanket. The air is still cool, though the warmth of the past lingers, and you can almost feel the subtle pulse of ancient Olympia beneath your feet as you stand on the precipice of time. As you listen, a soft rustling stirs the atmosphere, a gentle reminder that in history, there is no silence. There's always something moving. And as the story of Apollo and his unintentional gift to humanity continues to unfold, we must look closer at the first truly recorded Olympic gymnasts who took their newfound art to the next level, taking the gods' fleeting inspiration and turning it into a structured, competitive sport. In the years that followed Apollo's accidental display, the Olympic Games expanded, and the human athletes, eager to prove themselves and their mastery of both body and mind, began to push the boundaries of what was once just divine spectacle. Apollo's beautiful, flowing movements were, after all, just the beginning. Humans, with their inherent drive for improvement and pride, would go on to create a system for gymnastics, one that would evolve into a discipline much more than simple exhibitionism. Historians still debate the exact timeline of gymnastics' emergence into the Olympic fold. Some say it was as early as 700 BCE, while others believe it didn't truly take root until the Romans took over the game centuries later. Regardless of the specifics, what's undeniable is that gymnastics found a special place in the hearts of ancient athletes. It became not just a form of sport, but a means to express the beauty of the human body, its power, grace, and flexibility. And here's where things get a little strange by the time the games evolved into a more structured event. Gymnastics had taken on a life of its own. It wasn't simply about showing off in front of the gods. No, it was about perfecting the body through repetitive, deliberate training. The first athletes to take gymnastics seriously practiced moves that required balance, control, and strength. Same elements that we see in modern gymnastics today. Some of these movements may look familiar to us now, even though they've been significantly refined over centuries. But back then, they were groundbreaking. By the time the Romans made their mark, they had added their own touch to the Olympic Games, incorporating elements of their military precision and discipline. This meant that the gymnastics scene in Olympia had a distinctly Roman flavor, with an emphasis on order, rigor, and methodical movement. But the Greeks, they still carried the spark that Apollo ignited. Their gymnasts were not just performing for the sake of performance. They were creating something that would echo through history. Picture the scene athletes, covered in olive oil to show off their muscle tone and to prevent sand from sticking to their skin. Of course, performing intricate movements on the uneven bars, vaulting across platforms, and twisting through the air with a level of control that would have made even Apollo's sunburnt skin turn pale. The gymnasium became a place of intense focus, not just for athletic excellence, but for artistic expression as well. The movements they perfected were a balance of strength and beauty, a harmonious blending of form and function. What began as an attempt to impress the gods had, through countless generations, become a true sport, a sport of elegance, strength, and discipline. The gymnasts had learned to combine the strength of a lion with the grace of a dancer, creating an entirely new form of expression. The games, once a chaotic showcase of brute force, had morphed into something more refined and disciplined, all thanks to Apollo's little slip-up. Well, his slip-up and a whole lot of human ingenuity. And here's the twist: gymnastics, though originating in ancient Greece, wouldn't truly see its modern form until the 19th century. It would be then that people started to understand the real potential of the sport. They began to refine the equipment, perfect the routines, and, well, put on those impossibly tight, glittery outfits. It's a far cry from the naked athletes of Olympia, but in many ways, the spirit of Apollo's grace lives on in the sport today. Historians still argue about who was the first to formalize gymnastics into a modern practice. But the truth is, it doesn't matter. It was never about one person or one specific moment. It was about a culture that took Apollo's accidental inspiration and crafted it into something lasting, something that would stretch across millennia. So next time you watch a gymnast soaring through the air, flipping with grace, remember Apollo. Because, believe it or not, this all started because a god wanted to show off. The stars twinkle a little brighter above you now. The night seems to hum with the quiet knowledge of this history, as though even the wind knows the story of how gymnastics came to be. You're a part of something ancient, timeless, and, despite all the leaps, twists, and flips, beautifully simple. The world has changed, the athletes have changed, but the spirit of the games and Apollo's humble mistake will live on forever. The breeze continues its quiet serenade, almost as if nature itself is coaxing you deeper into the folds of history. There is a quiet satisfaction in knowing that the story of gymnastics, like all great tales, has its origins in something far more accidental than grandiose. It wasn't about perfection. It wasn't about showing off for the gods, it was about the human spirit, the drive to challenge the body and the mind, to push limits and surpass expectations. And as the stars continue to twinkle above you, you realize that the true legacy of Apollo's unintentional invention is the way it connected the divine and the human. The gods may have been the originators of many things, but it was the mortals who refined and made them their own. The Olympics became a place not just to showcase the physical strength of humans, but to show off their elegance, their grace, their ability to make something difficult look effortless. As you drift deeper into this story, remember, it all started because Apollo wanted to show off, to prove his worth among the gods. But from that desire to impress came the lasting legacy of gymnastics, a sport that requires more than just physical strength, but grace, control, and beauty. And in that beautiful irony, Apollo's accident turned into one of the most enduring legacies of the ancient world. As the cool breeze picks up, you feel yourself drifting deeper into the embrace of time. The air around you is filled with the soft, rhythmic sounds of a world that moves at its own pace, calm, almost meditative. And with each passing moment, the story continues, like the steady rhythm of a heartbeat that refuses to be silenced. In this quiet, ancient world, there is so much to observe. The athletes training beneath the gaze of the gods, the gentle rustle of the olive trees, and the persistent thrum of human ambition. We've come a long way from Apollo's accidental leap, haven't we? From the gods' casual display of agility to the first true gymnasts testing their strength, balance, and grace in Olympia, gymnastics has now morphed into something that echoes across centuries. It's not just about impressing gods anymore now. It's about pushing the limits of human ability, about turning the human body into a work of art. And as time passes, the athletes who practice gymnastics are no longer just mimicking the divine. They're creating something new, something that is uniquely human. But gymnastics, despite its graceful exterior, didn't come easily. Early gymnasts were expected to show strength, agility, and flexibility, but there was also a deep need for precision. Every movement had to be honed and perfected. These athletes had to learn to control their bodies in ways that were previously thought impossible. As the years went by, gymnastics evolved from a mere imitation of the gods' beauty into a structured, rigorous discipline. Now, let's talk about those early days. The first gymnasts, those athletes who trained under the Olympic sun, were not just strong, they were determined, their every movement imbued with a sense of purpose. The idea of perfecting every jump, every flip, every twist was not just a physical challenge, but a philosophical one. These athletes weren't just trying to win, they were trying to transcend. And in their pursuit of perfection, they reached for something greater than themselves. And yet, as you stand in this ancient world, you realize how little has changed. The pursuit of perfection in the human form, the drive to elevate the body and mind, still persists in the athletes we watch today. Modern gymnasts, with their seemingly impossible flips and graceful landings, are not so different from those early Greek pioneers. They too are part of the same legacy, stretching back through the centuries to Apollo's accidental inspiration. Historians still aren't sure who first decided to formalize gymnastics into an Olympic event. Some say it was the Romans with their precise, military-inspired approach to training. Others argue that the Greeks, with their love for physical beauty and form, were the true innovators. But the truth is, it doesn't matter. The ancient world may have been full of gods, heroes, and myths, but it was the humans, the gymnasts and athletes, who would carry the art forward. And what about those first moments of gymnastics? When Apollo's graceful leaps were first copied by the athletes of Olympia, they say that the gods were watching. But it wasn't just the gods who were paying attention. The world, even then, was beginning to take note of something special. The human body in motion transformed into something more than just a vessel for strength. It was becoming a thing of beauty, a moving work of art. Apollo had shown them the way, and the athletes of Olympia would make it their own, the games. At their heart were a celebration of the human spirit, the drive to achieve greatness, to push the body beyond its limits, to strive for something higher. And in this spirit, gymnastics became a reflection of that ideal. It wasn't just about competing, it was about transcending. Every jump, every twist, every perfect landing was an act of creation, a work of art that merged strength, grace, and beauty. And in that moment, you realize that Apollo's accident was never truly an accident. It was the beginning of something much, much larger than any one god's vanity. It was the beginning of a human legacy, one that would transcend gods and heroes alike. The wind carries a faint smell of salt water again, and you begin to feel the pull of time, how it shifts and changes, how it molds the past into something almost familiar. You've come so far, haven't you? From the moment Apollo's accidental display of agility sparked a revolution in human movement, to the athletes who embraced and perfected it. Gymnastics has taken on a life of its own as you reflect on the ancient world. You realize that gymnastics was not just about physical strength, it was about the mental discipline that accompanied it. The Greeks were known for their pursuit of balance, both physically and philosophically. To be a gymnast in ancient Olympia was to be part of a larger philosophy, one that sought perfection not just in the body, but in the soul. The discipline of gymnastics wasn't just a sport, it was a way of life. The gymnasium wasn't just a place to practice. It was a sanctuary, a temple where athletes came to worship the human body and all its beauty and strength. But it's not just the physical aspect of gymnastics that's fascinating. It's the way it connects to something deeper. In the same way that Apollo's graceful leaps inspired awe in the gods, the gymnasts of Olympia sought to inspire awe in themselves, to prove that the human body could transcend its limitations. And in a world full of divine beings, the gymnasts made a statement. We too can be divine in our own way. Historians still debate the true meaning behind the Olympics, whether it was simply a celebration of the gods or something deeper, a test of human potential. Some argue that it was a reflection of Greek society's desire to prove their dominance over the world, while others believe it was an expression of human ambition and the pursuit of excellence. Either way, gymnastics played a key role in this pursuit. It was more than just a game, it was a manifestation of everything the Greeks held dear: beauty, strength, and balance. But the truth is, no matter how much the world changes, the pursuit of greatness remains the same. Whether you're flipping across the floor in the Olympic gymnasium or sitting in the quiet of your own thoughts, there's something deeply human about striving for perfection. The gymnasts of Olympia weren't just competing. They were creating. And in that creation, they were telling a story that transcended time. So, as the breeze continues to weave its way through the olive trees and the stars shine a little brighter above, you understand that the legacy of Apollo's accidental gift is still alive today. It's in the athletes we watch on television, in the graceful leaps of gymnasts who push the limits of human ability. It's in the quiet moments of discipline and focus that echo through the centuries, and somewhere deep within that timeless rhythm of movement and stillness, you feel the heartbeat of history, a quiet, steady reminder of what it means to strive for something greater than ourselves. To take the gift of Apollo's accident and turn it into something we can hold in our hearts. Long after the gods have faded away, the night continues to settle into a deeper quiet. The stars overhead shimmer with an ancient light, untouched by time. The stillness around you is punctuated only by the occasional rustle of wind through the olive groves. The world feels as if it has been gently pressed between the pages of a book, soft, timeless, and slow-moving. The past, now fading, has become an intimate companion on this journey through history. As the story of Apollo's unintentional gift to the world of gymnastics unfurls, there's a part of you that begins to appreciate the irony of it all. The gods, so revered and distant, may have had their influence, but it was the humans who took those sparks of inspiration and turned them into something real, something lasting. The first gymnasts of Olympia were not just performing for the gods, they were making a statement. They were taking what was gifted to them and shaping it, molding it into a form that transcended even the divine dot. It wasn't long before gymnastics grew in prominence, becoming not just a form of exhibition, but a disciplined sport. This evolution was not without its own set of challenges. The early gymnasts weren't just pushing their physical limits, they were also inventing new ways to test the boundaries of their bodies. While Apollo's movements had been fluid, graceful, and almost effortless, the athletes of Olympia were refining and defining every gesture, every twist, every stretch. In this quiet corner of time, you find yourself thinking about what it took to create something so enduring. It's easy to assume that the ancient world was simpler, less focused on the details, but the truth is, the athletes of Olympia were already practicing a level of precision that would be unrecognizable to many of us today. They weren't just trying to impress, they were creating something for the future, something that would continue to grow and evolve long after their bodies had faded from the earth. And perhaps the most intriguing aspect of this history is the way in which gymnastics, like many of the ancient Olympic events, began to reflect a balance between the body and the mind. It wasn't just about being strong, it was about being aware of your strength, about controlling it and using it in ways that transcended brute force. Gymnasts of Olympia understood this balance intimately. Every movement they made, whether it was a leap through the air or a controlled flip, was a reflection of their understanding of both their physical abilities and the mental discipline required to execute them perfectly. Historians still debate whether the Greeks truly understood the psychological depth of what they were doing, or whether it was simply a byproduct of their physical training. Some believe that the Greeks had a deep, intuitive understanding of mental discipline, seeing it as just as important as physical strength. Others argue that the psychological aspects of gymnastics came much later, when the sport was formalized in the modern era. Either way, one thing is certain: gymnastics, with its combination of physicality and mental control, became a mirror of the Greeks' ideals. This balance between body and mind continues to shape gymnastics today. Modern athletes, like those of ancient Olympia, are not simply performing feats of strength, they are practicing a form of mental discipline that requires focus, precision, and an understanding of their own limits. And in a world full of distractions, the ability to remain present and focused is more important than ever. The gymnasts of today, like their ancient predecessors, are not just athletes, they are artists, philosophers, and dreamers crafting their bodies into forms of beauty and power. But let's not forget the roots of it all: Apollo's mistake. The gods may have inspired the first gymnasts, but it was the humans who took that inspiration and turned it into something real. The gods, after all, had their own concerns. They had their immortality, their beauty, their perfection. But humans, with their fleeting lives and ever-present drive for improvement, turned Apollo's accidental gift into a lasting tradition, one that would endure through the centuries. As you rest in this quiet moment, surrounded by the sounds of a world long gone, you realize that the story of gymnastics is more than just a tale of gods and athletes. It's a story of human ambition, of the desire to push beyond what is possible and to find beauty in the struggle itself. It's a story of creating something greater than yourself, of taking the gifts you are given and turning them into something that will last long after you're gone. The silence around you is almost palpable now, as though the very air is holding its breath. The stars twinkle above, unchanged by time, their light steady and unwavering. And as the quiet night settles deeper, you feel a sense of calm wash over you, a gentle peace that comes with knowing that the story we've shared tonight is just one of many stretched across the vast expanse of human history, from the accidental inspiration of Apollo to the gymnasts of Olympia. The evolution of gymnastics is not just about the gods, the athletes, or the movements. It's about the way in which human beings, in all their imperfect glory, take inspiration and turn it into something beautiful, something lasting. It's about the drive to create, to improve, and to perfect not just the body but the soul. As you think back to Apollo's unintentional gift, it's hard not to smile at the irony. The god of the sun, the god of music and poetry, never intended to start a sport that would become a cornerstone of human culture. And yet his desire to show off, to demonstrate his divine grace, led to the birth of an art form that would transcend gods and empires alike. It was never about perfection. It was about what humans could make of it, what they could create with the raw materials of inspiration, determination, and the endless pursuit of excellence. And now, as the stars continue to shine softly above, you realize that the legacy of gymnastics is not just about the athletes who practice it today. It's about every person who has ever pushed their limits, who has ever tried to make their body into something greater, something more. It's about every leap, every twist, and every graceful movement that has ever been made from the first. Gymnasts of Olympia to the athletes of today. So as you drift deeper into this quiet moment, surrounded by the timeless echoes of the past, you understand that the story of gymnastics is more than just a tale of strength and grace. It's a story of human spirit, of the drive to create, to transcend, and to leave a legacy that will endure long after. The gods have faded into myth. And as the night deepens and the world grows still, you feel the weight of history settle gently around you, as if Apollo himself were watching over this quiet moment. A moment where time stands still, and the beauty of the human body, in all its strength and grace, is celebrated, just as it was in Olympia, so long ago. The air is soft now, cooler than before, with the faintest rustle of the wind making its way through the olive trees and the stone buildings of the ancient city. The world is deep into its slumber, and the only sounds you hear are the soft hums of time whispers from the past, carried on the wind, faint yet ever present. There is no hurry here. Everything moves at its own pace. The gods, the athletes, the stories, they all have their own rhythms, and tonight, they are dancing slowly in the quiet of this timeless place. Let's step further into the story now. You felt the shifting tides of history, from the graceful, accidental birth of gymnastics in the divine antics of Apollo, to the human hands that shaped it into something extraordinary. The first gymnasts of Olympia were pioneers, creating something with each leap, each flip, each twist, something that blended beauty with strength, form with function. Yet, as history moved on, gymnastics became even more. It was no longer just about showing grace. It was about pushing the limits of human ability. The Olympic Games evolved, and gymnastics found its place in that ever-expanding world. The physical acts that began as exhibitions of divine beauty were now driven by a very human need to achieve mastery. The first gymnasts, testing their strength and flexibility, quickly realized that gymnastics was more than just an art form. It was a discipline, one that required as much mental fortitude as physical strength. The body, once seen as a vessel for brute force or divine beauty, was now seen as a tool for achieving something greater. It was a reflection of the Greek pursuit of harmony, where the mind and body were one. This philosophy would continue to shaped not only the games, but also the way gymnastics was practiced for centuries to come. And yet, even as these early gymnasts made their mark, gymnastics wasn't immediately recognized as the well-structured sport we see today. It wasn't about flips and vaults yet, no. The Greeks were still obsessed with the beauty of human movement, with demonstrating elegance and control. The events were more about showcasing a person's ability to perform in front of a crowd, impressing the gods with their divine grace. Apollo's divine example had become a touchstone for human aspirations, a perfect model of fluidity and poise. But the Greeks knew that to truly excel, they would need to create a system. They needed structure. They needed a way to turn their admiration of the human form into something that could be practiced, refined, and mastered. It was the Romans who, ever the pragmatists, would add an extra layer of discipline to the sport. While the Greeks reveled in the beauty of the form, the Romans, with their rigorous military precision, turned gymnastics into a test of both strength and control. They organized the events, turning them into something not just athletic but methodical. The emphasis on discipline, strategy, and military might found a natural home in the realm of gymnastics. But even under the Roman influence, the spirit of Apollo remained. The pursuit of physical perfection was still at the heart of the discipline, and the graceful movements of the gymnasts still echoed the divine leaps of the god himself. And even though the Romans' interpretation of gymnastics was more focused on technique, their influence didn't erase the essence of the sport. The Greeks' ideal of balance, grace, and control remained at the core. So, in a way, the Roman approach only deepened the discipline, giving it a sense of order that the Greeks had not fully defined. The mental discipline required to execute each perfect movement was not lost. It was refined, structured, and hardened into a sport that would eventually become a global phenomenon. Historians still question whether it was the Greeks or Romans who had the most influence on gymnastics. Was it the Greeks, with their idealized approach to the body, or the Romans, with their precision and discipline? Perhaps it was a little of both, blended together over time. Some argue that it was the Romans who formalized gymnastics into something more than just an exhibition of skill. Others maintain that the Greeks' artistic interpretation of human movement laid the foundation for everything we know today. But whatever the answer, one thing is certain: Apollo's accident had set the stage, and the humans took it from there. As the wind continues to brush through the leaves, and the world around you remains steeped in tranquility, you begin to understand just how much history is shaped by moments of divine whim, by the smallest of sparks. Apollo may not have set out to create gymnastics, but the god's influence was undeniable. From that accidental display of grace, something truly extraordinary was born. The early gymnasts of Olympia took that spark, honed it, and turned it into a legacy, one that would stretch from the ancient Olympics to the modern world, carried forward by the humans who saw in it something both divine and attainable. The world around you feels softer now, the sounds of the past and the present blending into a quiet harmony. The wind has calmed, the stars shine a little brighter, and you are once again reminded of how everything, every moment, every movement, every leap has its own rhythm. It's a rhythm that stretches across time, from Apollo's first accidental demonstration of grace to the gymnasts of today. It's a rhythm that continues, a heartbeat that refuses to fade, no matter how far we travel from the past. And now, you might be wondering, where does gymnastics stand today? How has it evolved from those early, divine-inspired displays of agility into the highly organized, awe-inspiring sport we know today? It's easy to forget that gymnastics, like so many great ideas, started as an accident, a divine mistake. Really and slowly, over centuries, morphed into something that reflects not just strength, but beauty, control, and elegance. Gymnastics today is no longer just about performing in front of a crowd. It's about mastering the human body in ways that would have seemed impossible to those first Olympic athletes. The physical feats we see in modern gymnastics are the culmination of thousands of years of refinement, experimentation, and discipline. And yet, at its core, gymnastics remains the same as it ever was, an expression of the human body's ability to achieve greatness. It's still about showing off in a way, though it's now less about impressing the gods and more about impressing oneself, about reaching a personal peak of performance. It's about testing the limits of what the body can do and then pushing beyond those limits over and over again, in many ways. Gymnastics today is a reflection of everything the ancient Greeks valued: balance, grace, strength, and the pursuit of perfection. Modern gymnasts, though far more refined in technique and equipment, still carry with them the same spirit that Apollo, intentionally or not, inspired. It's the spirit of determination, of elegance in motion, of using the body, not just as a tool of strength, but as a vessel for something greater. The spirit of gymnastics has always been about the beauty of the human body in motion, and thanks to Apollo's little mistake, it is a beauty that continues to evolve, grow, and inspire as the world continues to turn. You feel the weight of history settle around you like a blanket woven with the threads of time. Apollo's legacy, born from a simple accident, has transcended the divine. It's become a part of our human story, a story that continues to unfold with each gymnast who steps onto the floor, each flip, each twist, each graceful landing. The story of gymnastics is not just a story of gods, athletes. In history, it's a story of the human spirit itself, a spirit that strives to transcend, to perfect, and to create something lasting from the smallest of sparks. And as you begin to drift off, the soft hum of this ancient world fades into the background, like a lullaby you've heard 1,000 times before. The past, with all its gods and heroes, feels close now, just a whisper away. And in that whisper, you can hear the heartbeat of history, steady and sure, echoing through the ages. The wind is calm now. The story is almost over. And as you slip deeper into the comfort of sleep, the quiet legacy of gymnastics, born from Apollo's mistake, lingers with you. A reminder of how even the smallest of accidents can change the world forever. The night has deepened further now, as if the world is slowly folding itself into the arms of a long, peaceful sleep. You feel the weight of time on your shoulders, gentle but ever present, as though the stars themselves have been placed there by invisible hands. The soft rustle of the wind has quieted to a mere whisper, and the landscape around you, ancient Olympia, the gymnasium, where human and divine once met, feels like a distant dream. Yet, in that dream, you realize that the story of gymnastics has only just begun. The legacy of Apollo's accident, once nothing more than a mistake of divine vanity, has grown into something far beyond its origins. Today, gymnastics is no longer confined to the sacred grounds of Olympia. It has transcended the ancient world, evolving into one of the most celebrated in global sports. But even as it flourishes in modern arenas, the roots of the sport still trace back to those early Greek athletes who, inspired by a god's grace, created something truly extraordinary. What started as a graceful leap in the light of Olympus has become an intricate, precise sport that requires not only physical strength, but immense mental fortitude. The athletes of today, in their bright leotards and perfect routines, are heirs to the gymnasts of ancient Greece, the inheritors of Apollo's accidental gift. Each movement, each leap, each flip is a testament to the human body's remarkable ability to balance power and beauty, strength and grace. It's a dance between mind and muscle, a symphony of precision and athleticism. And yet, the journey from those first divine-inspired movements to the modern-day gymnasts has been anything but straightforward. We now know that gymnastics was more than just a physical endeavor. The Greek gymnasts, those early practitioners, understood something fundamental. The body could be transformed into a vessel of expression, not just for the gods, but for humanity itself. They took Apollo's divine example and refined it, making it their own, crafting a form of movement that was at once physical, artistic, and cerebral. The mental discipline that accompanied the physicality of gymnastics is what made it so enduring. It wasn't just about the strength to leap or twist, it was about the focus, the intention behind every movement. To be a gymnast in ancient Greece was to embody the ideals of balance, beauty, and self-control. As you sit in this quiet moment, letting the ancient world wash over you once more, you realize just how far gymnastics has come. The events of Olympia, which once included only a handful of physical displays, have now expanded into a complex, multifaceted sport. The modern gymnasts who perform today are pushing the boundaries of human movement, creating new routines that blend flexibility, strength, and artistry in ways that would have seemed impossible to those first ancient athletes. But despite all the changes, the core of gymnastics remains unchanged: the pursuit of excellence, the drive to perfect one's body, to make it an instrument of beauty and strength. And as you contemplate this, a deeper understanding takes root in your mind. Apollo's accidental invention wasn't just about the act itself, it was about what humans could do with it. The Greeks didn't just admire the gods' display. They saw in it reflection of their own potential, a glimpse into what they could achieve with enough dedication, enough practice, and enough focus. It's a lesson that echoes through history, that even the smallest spark, an accidental leap, a moment of divine inspiration, can ignite a fire that burns for centuries. Historians still debate what gymnastics was truly meant to be in its earliest forms. Was it an art, a sport, a form of devotion? Some argue that it was all of these things, that the Greeks intended it to be a celebration of the body's capabilities as a way to honor the gods. Others contend that it was simply a form of recreation, a way for the athletes to showcase their prowess and gain favor from the gods. Regardless of the intention, what we do know is this: the human element, our desire to test the limits of what we can achieve, was always at the heart of gymnastics. It was never just about performing for an audience. It was about pushing the body to its limits, testing what was possible and finding beauty in that process. And so, as you sit there, letting the night draw you in, you can't help but marvel at the journey gymnastics has taken, how it has evolved from the divine whims of Apollo to the structured, disciplined routines we see in modern Olympic arenas. It's a testament to the human spirit, the desire not only to transcend our physical limitations, but to make those transcendent moments beautiful, to capture something fleeting and make it last, to take the fleeting grace of Apollo's accidental leap and make it into something enduring. As you drift deeper into this reflection, the world around you seems to slow even more. The past, with its gods and heroes, feels distant but familiar, like a dream that lingers in the corners of your mind. The legacy of Apollo, though unintentional, still resonates today, as the gymnasts of the modern world continue to dance in the air, pushing the boundaries of human potential. You are reminded, quietly and softly, that the stories we tell, whether they are of gods, athletes, or accidental creations, are never truly finished. They continue, growing and evolving, just as gymnastics has, carrying with it the spirit of the human drive to achieve, to express, and to transcend. As the evening drifts into the quiet rhythm of night, you begin to feel the cool embrace of the world around you, like a soft sigh from the past. The ancient air is still, and the olive trees that once stood tall against the rising sun are now but shadows, their silent silhouettes stretching across the land. The stars above you twinkle with an ancient light, and for a moment it feels As if you are standing on the edge of time between the past and the present, where all things are connected. You find yourself thinking once more about gymnastics, the legacy of Apollo's accidental gift, how it started as an imitation of divine grace and evolved into a discipline of both body and mind. What Apollo began, the Greeks refined, and the Romans structured. And in the hands of modern athletes, the art of gymnastics has reached levels of sophistication and beauty that no one could have predicted. Yet, even in this moment, as you sit in the stillness of time, you can feel the pulse of that original spark, the simple leap of Apollo that started it all. There's a certain beauty in knowing that even the gods, in their infinite wisdom, could never have anticipated the impact of their own actions. Apollo, in his desire to show off, created something that would endure far beyond his own immortal reach. And in that enduring legacy, there is a lesson for us all, that even in the smallest of actions, those that seem insignificant at the time can spark something greater, something lasting. Historians still reflect on the origins of gymnastics, trying to unravel its true meaning and purpose. Was it a divine gift? A mere accident? Or was it something far more profound, a symbol of human potential and aspiration? Whatever the answer, the truth is simple. Gymnastics, born from Apollo's graceful mistake, has become something that transcends its origins. It's no longer about pleasing the gods. It's about the human spirit, about striving for excellence, about testing the limits of what we can achieve. And as you settle into this moment, the world around you becomes quieter, more peaceful, as if the story is slowly coming to an end. The soft whispers of history fade into the night, and all that remains is the calm certainty that gymnastics, like all great stories, will continue, growing and evolving as long as there are humans willing to push their limits, to perfect their craft, and to create something beautiful from the simplest of sparks. With that, the night feels complete. The world continues to turn, but for now, it is enough to rest in the quiet understanding that even the smallest of accidents can change the course of history, leaving behind a legacy that will last far beyond its origins. The wind is still, the stars twinkle brightly, and the story of gymnastics, born from the whim of a god, is now just another part of the eternal rhythm of time. The world is still now, enveloped in the quiet of night. The stars above have not changed since the first moment Apollo accidentally sparked something that would last for millennia. Even as the heavens remain, it feels as though you are walking through a dream world where time flows slower, where the stories of the gods and heroes have settled gently into the fabric of human history. There's something profound in the simplicity of this moment. The story of Apollo, though born from vanity, created an enduring legacy, one that humanity has woven into the very heart of their competitive spirit. The ancient gymnasts who followed Apollo's accidental grace knew that this wasn't just a game of strength. It was a test of will, a battle between the body's limitations and the mind's discipline. And with each new leap, twist, and vault, they refined their art, shaping it into something that would transcend its divine origin. As the years passed, gymnastics moved from the sacred grounds of Olympia to the grand arenas of the Roman Empire, where it took on new forms. It became less about the gods and more about human mastery. The Roman influence, with its emphasis on structure and organization, turned gymnastics into something that could be practiced, measured, and refined. Yet, even with the Roman influence, the spirit of Apollo's original grace endured. The gymnasts of today, flipping, twisting, and soaring through the air, are the heirs to Apollo's moment. Even if they do not know it, historians still find it fascinating how such a simple, accidental moment in history could evolve into a sport that now commands the attention of the world. From that first leap of Apollo's, Gymnasts have pushed the boundaries of human possibility, always striving for the perfect movement, the flawless performance. They push themselves to the edge of their abilities, often performing acts of strength and agility that would seem impossible to the gods themselves. But what makes gymnastics so extraordinary is not just the physical prowess it demands. It's the mental discipline that accompanies it. The ancient Greek gymnasts understood this. They knew that the body could only go so far on its own. It needed the mind to guide it, to push it to new heights. The delicate balance between strength and flexibility, between grace and power, was something that they practiced day after day. They were not just training their muscles, they were training their minds. They were learning how to focus, how to control their movements, how to make each action seem effortless, even if it required everything they had. The Romans, ever the pragmatists, made sure to organize the gymnastics events into something more formal. They saw the potential for this physical art and decided it was too valuable to remain a mere exhibition. They added their touch of discipline, creating events that tested not only physical prowess, but endurance and precision. It was no longer just about elegance, it was about efficiency, about mastering each movement with military precision. And though their methods may have been more structured, the core of gymnastics remained unchanged. It was still an art form, one that required both mental and physical mastery. Fast forward to the present, and gymnastics has become one of the most breathtaking sports in the world. Gymnasts now perform feats that would have astounded their ancient predecessors, flipping through the air with a grace and precision that borders on the divine. They don't just jump or spin, they defy the laws of physics, using their bodies in ways that seem impossible. And yet, at the heart of it, they are still following the path laid down by Apollo, the path of grace, strength, and mental discipline. And so, as you sit in this quiet moment, feeling the weight of history settle around you like a gentle blanket, you realize that the story of gymnastics is more than just a tale of gods and athletes. It is a story of human perseverance, of our desire to push ourselves beyond what we thought was possible. Every gymnast who has ever taken to the floor, whether in ancient Olympia or in modern arenas, has been part of this timeless legacy. Historians still debate who can truly claim to have shaped gymnastics into the sport we know today. Was it the Greeks who laid the foundation with their love of the human body and their pursuit of beauty? Was it the Romans who formalized the events and added structure? Or was it the athletes of the modern world who perfected the art and made it into the incredible spectacle it is today? Perhaps the answer lies somewhere in between, in the continuous evolution of this art form. From the gods' first inspiration to the gymnasts who perform today, the story of gymnastics, like all great stories, is a reflection of the human spirit, spirit that never ceases strive for perfection, to create something beautiful from nothing, and to leave a legacy that will echo for generations. And in this quiet moment, surrounded by the stillness of the night, you understand that the journey is never truly finished. The night continues to unfold, and the world around you seems to breathe with a rhythm that has existed long before any of us arrived. The stars overhead are constant, their light unwavering as they reflect the ancient and eternal passage of time. The wind whispers through the trees, as if sharing secrets from an era long past, reminding you of the continuity of history, of the stories that never truly end. The story of Apollo, gymnastics, and the human spirit stretches across the centuries, unbroken and alive. From the first divine misstep that led to the birth of gymnastics to the modern athletes who defy gravity, the essence of the sport remains the same. It's not just about physicality, it's about grace, about control, about pushing the body and the mind to new heights. It's about the desire to reach for something greater, to transcend the limits of what we thought was possible. And as you reflect on this, you realize that gymnastics, like so many aspects of human achievement, is a testament to our ability to transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. It began as a simple accidental leap, a demonstration of divine grace. But through the dedication of countless athletes, it became something more. It became a discipline, a philosophy, and an art form. And it continues to evolve, to inspire, and to push the boundaries of what is possible. So as the night continues to drift by, you feel the quiet pulse of history beneath you, like the steady rhythm of a heartbeat. You understand now that even the smallest spark in accident, a whim, a moment of divine inspiration can change the course of history. And in the case of gymnastics, that spark became a fire, one that continues to burn brightly to this day. And as you drift deeper into sleep, the world around you quiets, and the story of gymnastics, born from Apollo's mistake, continues to echo through the ages. It's a story of human spirit, of perseverance, of striving for greatness. And it will go on, just as stars will continue to shine in the night sky, forever and ever. As you fall asleep, you feel the comfort of knowing that the story is still being written by every gymnast who dares to leap into the air, to defy gravity, and to leave their mark on the world. And in that quiet, gentle moment, you let go of the past and the future, and rest in the knowledge that the legacy of Apollo's accident will never truly fade. It will live on in every twist, every flip, and every graceful movement, forever part of the eternal rhythm of time. The world is still now, as if time itself is holding its breath. The night deepens, and you feel yourself slipping further into a calm, peaceful slumber. The air is cool, and the quiet of the world around you has become almost tangible. The story of Apollo's accidental gift, now woven through the fabric of human history, continues to echo softly in the background, a reminder that even the smallest moments can change everything. As you lie there, relaxed and at ease, the thought of those first gymnasts of ancient Greece crosses your mind once more. Their determination, their pursuit of perfection, they were more than just athletes. They were creators, crafting a discipline that would endure for centuries. What started as a divine display, a fleeting moment of grace from Apollo, became something much bigger. The ancient gymnasts took that spark and nurtured it, building upon it with every movement, every leap, until gymnastics became an art form, a blend of strength, beauty, and precision. But it wasn't just the Greeks who carried this torch. As the centuries passed, gymnastics found new life in the hands of the Romans, who organized it into a formal discipline, turning it into something that could be practiced, measured, and perfected. The Romans, with their love for order and structure, infused gymnastics with a sense of military precision. They took the beauty of the Greeks' fluid movements and added discipline and rigor. And in this evolution, the spirit of Apollo's accidental leap remained. The essence of gymnastics was still there, but it had grown into something more. It had become not just a sport, but a pursuit, a way of life for those who dedicated themselves to mastering their bodies and minds. And then, as time marched on, gymnastics entered the modern world. From the ancient Olympic Games to the grand arenas of today's global competitions, gymnastics has continued to evolve, to grow, and to inspire. The athletes who perform now are pushing the boundaries of what is possible, defying gravity and performing feats of strength and beauty that would have astonished even the gods themselves. But despite all the changes, the core of gymnastics remains the same. It is still about pushing the body and the mind, about finding beauty in the struggle, and about transcending the limits of what we thought was possible. As you feel the soft pull of sleep growing stronger, you realize that the story of gymnastics is more than just a story of gods and athletes. It is a story of the human spirit, the desire to transcend, to create, and to leave a lasting legacy. Apollo's mistake, born of vanity, has evolved into a discipline that celebrates the beauty of human movement, a discipline that continues to inspire those who dare to push the boundaries of what is possible. It is a reminder that even the smallest moments, even the most accidental of beginnings, can lead to something extraordinary. And so, as the world around you settles into its quiet rhythm, you let go of all thoughts and drift deeper into sleep. The stars above continue their eternal dance. The wind whispers softly through the trees, and the story of gymnastics, born from Apollo's grace, continues to echo through time. In that quiet moment, you understand that the legacy of gymnastics will never fade. It will live on, passed down through the generations, a testament to the human spirit and the power of the body to transcend its limits. The night is peaceful. Now, the story complete, and as you let yourself drift into the peaceful embrace of sleep, you carry with you the knowledge that even the smallest spark of inspiration, whether from a god or a human, can change the course of history. It's a story that will continue to unfold, one leap at a time. The quiet of the night is now complete. The stars above seem to glow with a soft, reassuring light. You can feel the weight of time gently pressing down on the world, as though everything in this moment is meant to rest, to find peace in the stillness. And in that stillness, there is a sense of completion. The story of gymnastics, of Apollo's accidental invention, has come full circle, but it is far from over. It continues, weaving itself into the fabric of human history, stretching out from the gods of Olympia to the gymnasts who perform today. As you rest in the quiet of the night, you realize just how profound this story truly is. It's not just a tale of gods and heroes. It's a story of humanity, of our desire to push ourselves beyond the limits of what we think is possible, to create something beautiful, to transcend the ordinary and make something extraordinary. The gymnasts of ancient Greece, inspired by Apollo's divine grace, created a legacy that would outlast the gods themselves. And that legacy continues to inspire, to push the boundaries of human potential, to remind us that there is beauty in every leap, every twist, every perfectly executed movement. As you drift further into sleep, you feel the weight of history lift, the story settling gently in your mind. The night is calm now, the world at rest, and the legacy of Apollo's accidental gift of gymnastics lives on. It lives on in every gymnast who dares to leap into the air, to defy gravity, to make something beautiful with their bodies. And it will continue long after the stars have faded and the winds have calmed, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit. The world around you is quiet now, the past and the present blending into one peaceful moment. As the night deepens, you let go of the story, letting it fade into the comfort of sleep. The legacy of Apollo, gymnastics, and the human pursuit of excellence will be with you, in your dreams, in the stillness of the night, forever. And as you close your eyes, you know that the story, like the stars above, will never truly end. The night is now deep, and the quiet world around you feels as though it has been held in the arms of time. The air is cool, and the stars above shimmer softly, their light steady and unwavering. The story of Apollo's accidental gift of gymnastics, of human ambition and grace, is complete. Yet, like the stars in the sky, it will continue to shine long after this moment fades into the background of your dreams. The legacy of gymnastics, born from Apollo's grace, is a reminder of the power of human potential. It's a reminder that even the smallest of accidents, even the most unintentional of actions, can create something extraordinary. The gymnasts who perform today, who push the boundaries of what is possible, are the heirs to that ancient spark, to the accidental invention of a sport that would come to define both human strength and beauty. As you drift deeper into sleep, you feel the weight of history settle around you like a comforting blanket. The story of Apollo, of gymnastics, and of the human spirit will continue to echo in your dreams. And as the night wraps you in its embrace, You realize that the story, like the pursuit of excellence, is never truly finished. It lives on in every gymnast who takes to the floor, in every leap, in every twist, in every moment of beauty and strength. And it will continue to inspire, to shape the future, just as it has shaped the past. And as the stars twinkle softly above, you close your eyes, knowing that the story of gymnastics born from a divine accident will continue, always. The legacy of Apollo's grace will never fade. It will live on, carried forward by every athlete who dares to leap into the unknown, to defy the limits of what is possible, and to create something beautiful from the simplest of sparks. And in that quiet moment, you sleep Dot as you lie there. Tucked beneath the comforting embrace of sleep, you feel the world around you grow still. The stars, now shining brighter than ever, seem to watch over you like silent guardians, their light a gentle reminder that time is both endless and fleeting. In this peaceful moment, the story of gymnastics, of Apollo, and of the human spirit settles into your heart like a familiar melody. The legacy of Apollo's mistake, born from his desire to show off, has grown into something far greater than anyone could have imagined. From that first divine leap, the human spirit took hold of the idea and made it their own. The Greeks, the Romans, and the gymnasts of today have all played their part in shaping gymnastics into the sport we know and love. But at its core, gymnastics has always been about more than just physical strength. It has been about grace, about control, about the pursuit of perfection. It is a story of transcendence, of the human desire to reach beyond what is possible and to make the impossible beautiful. Dot, as you settle deeper into sleep, you understand that the story of gymnastics is a story of all of us. It's a story of our drive to create, to push beyond our limitations, and to leave something lasting behind. Apollo's accidental invention, born of vanity and grace, has turned into a testament to human potential. And that story, like the stars above, will never fade. It will live on, carried forward by every gymnast who dares to leap, to twist, and to make something beautiful from the body they call home. And as you drift further into the embrace of sleep, the world around you feels like a dream where the past and present merge, where the stories of gods and mortals exist side by side, where the pursuit of excellence continues to unfold. Forever and always, you rest now in peace.